Were you guys pretty surprised at the popularity when In the Summertime was released?
Surprised. I mean, it was like flying to the moon, or winning the lottery, but not knowing how much you won. You know, I wrote that song in about 10 minutes, and I was just writing songs because I didn't have a lot of money, and so I was running out of money to go and buy new records to kind of learn repertoire, and I wasn't getting any from anywhere else. So I thought I'd just write a few songs in that kind of a style that I was playing, and whatever came into my head, I just wrote down and started doing it, you know, and before that, I've been kind of like Buddy Holly, and I was kind of trying to sing like Buddy Holly and stuff like with the family things. And then I sort of changed the sound of my voice and started trying to sound like some old blues guy. And it kind of worked. When I recorded in Summertime, I changed the key of the song. It just came out different. So, but the album came out. We did the first album. Then we went to the States, and we played at all the major venues in the States. Like the Tea Party in Boston, Fillmore East, Fillmore West, Factory in Philadelphia, all that kind of stuff, and played with some great people like Steve Miller Band, Mountain, headlined over Black Sabbath, headlined over Humble Pie, and had a great time. It was okay, but for some strange reason, we decided to fire the bass player when we came back. And for some unknown reason, I'm friends with the guy, like Michael Cole. He works with me, we made an album not so long ago, which was got great reviews. And anyways, then I went in the studio, recorded another song, went to #1, Baby Jump Rock thing. But the trouble was, in the States, we were on a label called Janus, and they had a deal with the company that we had in England. They didn't. It was part of an organisation, a family that owned EMI and all the major theatres in England, TV, the whole thing. But this part of the record company, this label, I think was one of their cousins. But they didn't have their own affiliates in overseas territories. So therefore, the product was licensed to a third party. And in the States, it was licensed to Janus, and it didn't kind of fit in. I think they had Funkadelic on their label, and I don't know, it just didn't kind of work what we were doing with that kind of label. And all the other thing is, in the States, it's such a big country, you need to be there and you need to tour. You need to do things. And we were popular, we were travelling all around the world. And so, like, the follow-up that went to #1 in England, I don't even know what happened to it in the States. I suppose it must have got released, but nothing happened. But it ended up in a movie. You might have seen the movie because it won a lot of awards, and the movie was called The Crying Game.
Okay.
It's about the IRA.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you guys, they came out in the 80s. Anyway, it's a classic movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a great one.
Yeah, it was pretty popular.
And, so, Boy George did the theme song, although it wasn't his song. It had already been a hit in England by a guy named Dave Berry, but that was the title of the song, The Crying Game, and it was the name of the movie. Then the next one that came out was called Lady Rose. That was a massive hit, went on, but the problem was it was a maxi single, and I decided to do a version of an old, I kind of changed the words around and give my own interpretation of a song called Have a Whiff on Me, and which is a song about cocaine, about drug related. And it's not a pro-drug song or anything, but it got mistaken for being a pro-drug song by one of the producers at the BBC in England. They made a complaint to the Director of Public Prosecutions, and they went into court, and I wasn't prosecuted, and the record company wasn't prosecuted, but there was an order that all the records, the vinyl, had to be destroyed. So it was already in the charts, in the top 20 or whatever, top 30. So that didn't get to #1. I think it ended up at #3 because there had to be a repressing.
Wow.
But it became it's on all over Europe. It's a really, really very popular song. The funny thing is, I think when Baby Jump, the follow-up to In the Summertime came out, it knocked My Sweet Lord off of '1, and then I think that got knocked off of #1 by that one of Paul McCartney's records, Another Day or something like that, whatever. I suppose we was in good company. But then, in the following year, by 1972, I got fired from the band by two guys in the band, and they were taking over the band.
Can they do that? Or?
And they were going to become Mungo Jerry. They found a guy named Dave Lambert to take my place. So I was going to just be Ray Dorset, singer-songwriter. But the record company didn't go along with the idea because people were already, because I was the front man, I wrote the songs, I was singing and playing the guitar.
Yeah.
People thought I was Mungo Jerry. So I took on the persona of Mungo Jerry, the artist performer, and Ray Dorset, the songwriter and producer. And we carried on from there. And then I realised it's the best thing that could have happened to me because I'm not restricted to any genres of music or styles or anything. It's as long as, you know, I can be happy with the people around me, I can go into other kind of areas without being disrespectful to anybody. But it's, you know, when you talk about a band, you know, it wasn't that I had a collaborator to come up with the songs that I wrote. But I just used to do things, it came easy, and I just played the game and just did if I got fired up to do something, I decided to do it. I wouldn't say that I was being lazy, but, you know, I was never driven by any materialistic motives. It wasn't like I felt that I got to get loads of bling, you know, to show off. You know, and I didn't kind of need that. But I know, like, in today's society and the way things are, the game is, you know, if you watch music, TV of any kind, whatever it is, you know, you got these wonderfully shot videos with everybody, you know, up there driving their Hummers and with the Breitling watches on and all that kind of stuff, you know, which is fun if you think it's the game, the party thing, as long as you don't realise that, you know, that you're not as good a person as your neighbour because you haven't got a bigger car than them. Do you get what I'm talking about? Because, I mean, the media does thrive on celebrity publicity to sell their programs or their magazines or whatever, or their websites. So therefore, because they're going to sell advertising, so therefore they're going to kind of take that route. But it's fun on the one hand, but as long as people don't get depressed about the fact that not everybody wants to be aspire to become like another Donald Trump, if you know what I mean. I don't want to get too deep on all this kind of, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not exactly political, but it's kind of lifestyle stuff.
Well, I got to ask you one question. When you're talking about all the bling and super, you know, fantastic stuff, whatever, you have to admit that awesome hairstyle that you had back in the 70s, that had to help your success, right?
My hair has grown. It's kind of back there now, wilder than it was before.
Your hair was awesome. I just have to say that.
But it's a bit mad, man, because the fact is, my wife, and when I was in Germany, we got a friend that's from Sicily. You know, he does all these tricks with the scissors and the hair. You know, cutting it, and he cut a little bit of my hair, and I thought, I'm going to start growing it longer, and they started messing around with it and thought they'd straighten it. You know, because my hair is naturally curly, so they got all this. I don't know what they put on my hair. And then my wife said, "Oh no, this terrible thing. We're going to straighten it some more." And it's trying to grow my hair back long again, like for about 2 years, 1.5 years, and I'm going to cut it again, but it's not as it should be. I've got to get all my curls back, you know, man. Mm-hmm. And people were paying to get their hair curly, and there's me getting it straightened out. So, but it looks pretty mad. But I haven't got the big sideburns anymore. But I mean, they were pretty well. Because
they were pretty awesome.
I've got a little poodle now, but I think that having this big dark curly hair and the sideburns, you know, I get confused with the dog, with the poodles. And I think it was scaring my children if I turned up to pick them up from school looking like some wild character. But it's pretty. I would say it was a pretty. How can you say, a very definite kind of an image, you know. People, you couldn't miss me, could you?
No, definitely not. You should have gotten an award for that hair, I swear. It was awesome.
But I don't know, people think, if you come into this music business or whatever, you want to get noticed. Well, in any walk of life, if you do get noticed, people will remember you. But I'm just not normal anyway, as you can probably judge that by the way that I speak. I suppose I'm a bit crazy, really. But the thing with my big sideburns was I hate shaving. And it got to the stage where I thought the less I shaved, the better. So the sideburns just got bigger and bigger, but I didn't want a moustache and I didn't want a full beard. But I won a prize in an English music magazine. and as having the largest sideburns in the music business.
That's awesome.
That's
I was
awesome.
number 1 in the charts, would you believe?
That is the coolest
That's great.
thing.
Well, that probably helps to explain the longevity, how you've been releasing albums for so many years. It was the
Yeah, I've
sideburns.
been releasing stuff. I haven't stopped, actually. I keep on recording and writing, but I do it for fun. Times have changed. Physical sales are not what they were. I took the independent route in this business in the very late 70s or early 80s. There was a lot of corruption within the music business. Well, in my particular area, I was working with a major company, and I thought, you don't need all this. And so I thought, what's real? And it's great now. It's really fantastic for musicians, bands, and artists because you've got the whole of the World Wide Web to work with. You've got Facebook, you've got YouTube. No, YouTube's fantastic. I mean, it's great because you don't have to. Someone makes a really cool video and they do one of their own tunes with it. They're not going to have to drive, 3,000 miles, around the place to try and play a few gigs to build up a following because you make a good video, you get to work on it, you can promote, get the video, get that YouTube clip to go viral, and before you know it, you got a few 100,000 clicks, and you break a new artist or break your new band or break your band, or whatever you're doing, and that's the thing. We're in it's a competitive game. Everybody's after the same thing. So then you look at the thing, let's come and be different. What if you're a major, you're going to spend. Major companies, they have to make an investment. They've got to get market share. They've got to do a situation where they've got shareholders, they've got investors. They've got to make money for them. So therefore, they'll spend a lot of money on promotion and publicity to break a new artist to get market share to get the money. But not that new artist that they break has not necessarily got any longevity. It's very rare. But the artists that actually come up from the ground, from the bottom and do it their own, they've usually got a lot more substance, and it takes off. And then if they're clever, they'll find a way of hanging in there, staying in the business, and find a way that they don't have to work too hard, for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what kind of stuff do you have going on, or upcoming projects that you're working on, or?
I'm working on a TV series called. I won't tell you about it actually because I'll give the game because we haven't copyrighted out. I'm working on. We got the In the Summertime musical thing. What I'm working on. I've got a legal battle going on for 5 years, taking up a lot of my time. Just made an album. I've been recording with a guy named Heine Outfart, who's a jazz kind of show drummer. He spins the drumsticks and catches them in his teeth and does all kind of tricks. And we've been playing some blues festivals this year, and just started doing it with my keyboard player and my bass player, just as a 4-piece. And I've been doing these things with a boogie woogie, and boogie woogie guy called Christoph Steinbeck. He works with the drummer Pete York from Spencer Davis Group, Eric Burden, he's the singer from the Animals, and we've been doing all this kind of stuff. And I've got this thing at the moment, doing festivals and playing no sound check, no set list, and no rehearsal. Some of it's a little bit self-indulgent, but it's hanging in there on the groove, and getting this good vibe going. So I'm in Vienna for 30 days doing a story of rock and roll and blues for teenagers, for kids up to the age of 14. I'm doing that. I'm doing some jazz festivals and some blues festivals. 2 weeks ago, I was actually doing a blues festival just inside the Arctic Circle, pretty close to the right in the north of Norway, right next to the Russian border. And that was an experience because I didn't really see any daylight for 3 days. It took me 18 hours to get back. I could have been halfway around the world at that time. But that was good fun. It's always good, on my level, I've seen the best and I've seen the worst, yeah? And I think it's good learning about life.
There you go.
There you go.
That's no truer words have been spoken.
Is that okay? Good. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for taking the time and listening to my gobbledygook, if you like. So, yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for spending time with us.
Oh, no, thank you, guys. Thanks very much. And if I'm in Minnesota, well, it's a big place, but you never know. Okay?
All right. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.